الطائف أحضر دروس الشيخ ابن باز، لكن كان صعب لأنه بعد الفجر ولا بد أرجع العمل في جدة، فاستأجرت شقة في الطائف مدة سنة.
شيخنا نحن حي الآن، عفوا معذرة الانتقاء
على الهواء.
لعل عبد الحكيم, are we live now?
Yes, Bismillah. We just started live now.
حتى لا تذكروا شيئا.
طيب. لكن كان صعب. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام الأتمان الأكملان على محمد رسول الله سيد الأولين والآخرين وإمام الأنبياء والمرسلين والشافع المشفع يوم الدين، وعلى آله الطيبين وأزواجه الطاهرات أمهات المؤمنين وصحابته الغر الميامين ومن استنى بسنته واهتدى بهديه إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، حياكم الله أيها الإخوة والأخوات إلى هذا اللقاء المتجدد من لقاءات فوائد من السيرة النبوية أو نحو ذلك. ونحن اليوم مع أمر عظيم من أمور السيرة النبوية نقف معه إن شاء الله تعالى وقفات. نعم.
Indeed, all praises are due to Allah, and may the most complete and full salutations be showered upon Muhammad, the messenger of Allah, the leader of the first and the last, the imam of the prophets and messengers, the intercessor whose intercession will be accepted on the day of recompense, and upon his family, his good family and distinguished companions, and upon his pure wives, and those who take his example as an example to be followed, and seek his guidance as guidance to be followed until the day of reckoning. To proceed, I welcome you, my brothers and sisters, to this recurring meeting and this recurring lesson of ours that is benefits from the prophetic biography, benefits from the biography of the Prophet Muhammad and these types of matters. And today our topic is of great importance, and it's an important subject as relates to the biography of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him.
علاقة موضوعنا الليلة بالسيرة وهو موضوع فضائل شهر الله المحرم هو ما وقع في السنة الأولى من هجرة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في المدينة.
And the connection between tonight's topic, which is benefits of the month of Muharram, this is the Islamic month, and the biography of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, is due to an incident that occurred in the first year after the hijrah of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, when he was in the city of Medina.
فإن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لما قدم المدينة مهاجرا كما يروي الإمام مسلم في صحيحه عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما قال قدم رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم المدينة فوجد اليهود يصومون يوم عاشوراء، فسئلوا عن ذلك، يعني سألهم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن سبب صيامهم لذلك اليوم، فقالوا هذا اليوم الذي أظهر الله فيه موسى وبني إسرائيل على فرعون، فنحن نصومه تعظيما له. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم نحن أولى بموسى منكم، فأمر بصيامه. وفي رواية فصامه موسى شكرا فنحن نصومه. وجاء في رواية أخرى أن اليهود قالوا إنه يوم نجى الله فيه موسى ومن معه وأغرق فرعون وجنوده، فصامه موسى شكرا لله ونحن نصومه شكرا. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنا أحق بموسى منكم، وفي رواية نحن أي أمة الإسلام أحق بموسى منكم. وسنقف مع هذه الجزئية وقفات.
And this incident that we have alluded to is the incident that took place in the first year after the hijrah, after the migration of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, to Medina. and it's an incident that was reported by Imam Muslim in his Sahih on the authority of Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with them both, who said that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he came to Medina and he found the Jews of Medina fasting on the 10th of the month of Muharram. So he asked them about this, and they said, this is the day in which Allah the Most High, he made Musa and his people victorious over Fir'aun, over Pharaoh. So on this day, we commemorate this victory and we give it greatness. And we give it greatness by fasting on this day. And the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, indeed, we are more worthy or more deserving of Moses than you are. So he ordered the Muslims to fast. And in another narration of this hadith, of this report, the Jews said, indeed, we fast this day as a means of giving thanks. And in this narration, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he asked them, why do you fast on this day? And they said this was a day in which Allah the Most High, he saved Pharaoh and who was with him. Sorry, he saved Moses and those who were with him, and he destroyed Pharaoh and those who were with him. So as a result of this, Moses fasted as a means of giving thanks. So we fast as a means of giving thanks to Allah. And then the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, indeed, I, and in another narration, we, meaning the Muslims, as a general people, are more worthy or more deserving of Moses than you. So then he ordered the people to fast on that day. And these narrations, we will take a further in-depth look at them in what comes.
وليس هذا هو السبب الوحيد في كون النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم صام ذلك اليوم، فقد جاء عن عائشة رضي الله عنها أنه صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يصومه قبل البعثة. قالت كانت عاشوراء يوما تصومه قريش في الجاهلية، وكان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يصومه. لماذا؟ لأنه كان من دين إبراهيم وإسماعيل عليهما السلام، أي قبل موسى أن يخلق كان نبي الله إبراهيم عليه السلام وابنه إسماعيل كان يصومان هذا اليوم، ولعله أيضا وكان إسحاق ويعقوب، إسحاق ابن إبراهيم ويعقوب ابن إسحاق وأبناؤه الأنبياء يوسف وإخوته كانوا يصومونه لأنه يوم معظم عند الله.
However, it's important to note that this isn't the sole reason that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, fasted on that day. For it has been reported by Aisha in شيخنا رواية عائشة في البخاري.
نعم في البخاري.
حفظكم الله. It's been reported by Aisha in Sahih
عفوا في الصحيحين.
أثابكم الله. It's been reported on the authority of Aisha in the book of Bukhari and Muslim that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he used to fast on this day before he was sent or before he received the prophethood. And she said that on the 10th of Muharram, it was a day that was given a high degree of importance and rank by the Quraysh, and they used to fast on that day. And the reason for this was because it was from the remnants and the habits of the faith of Abraham and Ismail, i.e., that they would fast on that day. And this was obviously before the creation and the birth of Moses. And it looks like, and what is apparent, is that this was the practice of the other prophets, or the sons of Abraham. So it was a practice of Isaac and Jacob and Joseph and his brothers, that they fasted on this day due to it being a day that was beloved in the sight of Allah the Most High.
بالنسبة لإسحاق ويعقوب وأبناء يعقوب لم يرد نص بذلك، لكن مما يظهر من أن إبراهيم عليه السلام وإسماعيل كانا يصومان، فالذي يظهر أنه كان من دين إبراهيم، وإبراهيم عليه السلام علم إسماعيل وإسحاق ويعقوب الدين، وأمرهم ألا يبدلوه، وهم أيضا قاموا بذلك وساروا عليه.
And as for what's been reported, it's mentioned that Abraham and Ishmael, they used to fast on that day. And from this, we get the understanding that the other sons of Abraham, Isaac, etc., that they would also fast on that day, because it was from the religion of Abraham, and Abraham used to teach Isaac the religion, and he used to teach his sons the religion that they would follow. So it's not explicitly stated that other than Abraham and Ishmael would fast on this day. However, it's understood that they did.
ومما يدل على أن هذا اليوم معظم ما جاء في صحيح مسلم أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: إن عاشوراء يوم من أيام الله، فمن شاء صامه ومن شاء تركه. نلاحظ قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم من أيام الله، وما دام أنه من أيام الله فهو في جميع الأمم.
And another indicator of the virtue of this day is that which has been reported by Imam Muslim in his book, the Sahih, that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Indeed, the day of the 10th of Muharram is one of the days of Allah, i.e. the days highly esteemed by Allah. So whosoever wishes or wills, they should fast that day, and whosoever wishes or wills, then they should not fast that day, i.e. you can fast that day if you so wish." And the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, his statement that the 10th of Muharram is from the days of Allah, this contains within it an indication that it was a day that was blessed, or a day that was highly regarded by all of the nations, because it was a day that was unrestrictedly beloved by Allah the Most High.
كل هذا قدمنا به لندخل إلى شهر الله المحرم، وهو موضوع حديثنا، وليس موضوع حديثنا عن صيام عاشوراء وفضله، وإنما مكانة وفضل شهر محرم.
And what we have given now has been by way of introduction to our substantive topic, and our topic being the month of Muharram, its status, its ranks, and what has been reported as relates to it. So the topic of tonight's lecture is not simply the fasting of the day of the 10th, rather it's wider than this and more expansive than this, and it encompasses the virtues and the status of the month of Muharram.
فهذا الشهر كما هو معلوم عند الجميع المسلمين وغير المسلمين هو أول شهور السنة الهجرية أو السنة القمرية التي يعمل بها المسلمون.
And this month, it's the first month of the Islamic calendar and the first month of the lunar calendar by which the Muslims or which the Muslims follow.
وهذا لعله يتبادر إلى الذهن أنه كان من ترتيب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، والصواب أن هذا كان من ترتيب الخليفة الثاني أمير المؤمنين أبي حفص عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله تعالى عنه، حيث أنه في عهده وضع بداية للسنة، وجعل المحرم هو بداية السنة من أجل أن ذي الحجة وهو من أعظم الأعمال في الإسلام يختتم به العام ثم يفتتح بأعظم بالشهر الذي هو معظم عند الله وهو شهر الله المحرم.
And it might be, or it might come to our thoughts when we say this, that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he was the one who organized the beginning and end of the Islamic year in this manner. However, this was done by the organization of the second caliph of the Muslims, Abu Hafs Umar ibn al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, who placed the beginning of the Islamic year as the month of Muharram. And he did this because he wanted, or he sought to complete the Islamic year by the greatest and the noblest of months, Dhul Hijjah, the month in which the Hajj is done. And due to its virtue and due to the greatest of actions taking place within it. So he wanted it to be that the Islamic year would end on this high note with this great month, and then it would then begin with a month that was virtuous in the sight of Allah and that was great in the sight of Allah, the month of Muharram.
وهذا الشهر استمد عظمته من ما جاء في كتاب الله عز وجل. ففي سورة التوبة في الآية 36 منها يقول رب العزة والجلال: إن عدة الشهور عند الله 12 شهرا في كتاب الله يوم خلق السماوات والأرض منها 4 حرم ذلك الدين القيم فلا تظلموا فيهن أنفسكم.
And this month, we can see the greatness of this month in the Quran as well, as it has been explained in the 9th chapter of the Quran, in Surah At-Tawbah, in verse number 36, where Allah the Most High says that which means, indeed, the number of months ordained by Allah is 12 in Allah's record since the day He created the heavens and the earth, of which 4 are sacred.
وهذه ال4 الأشهر لم يبينها الله عز وجل في القرآن، لكن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بينها فيما صح عنه في الحديث الذي رواه أبو بكرة رضي الله تعالى عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: إن الزمان قد استدار كهيئته يوم خلق الله السماوات والأرض السنة 12 شهرا منها 4 حرم ثلاث متواليات ثلاث متواليات ذو القعدة وذو الحجة والمحرم ورجب مضر الذي بين جمادى وشعبان. والحديث متفق على صحته.
And in the Quran, Allah the Most High, He explains that the months, the sacred months, are 4, but He does not explain within the Quran which these 4 months are, or He doesn't specify these 4 months. Rather, this was something that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he explained in the hadith, the narration of Abi Bakr, and this is Abu Bakr, not Abu Bakr. That the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, indeed, the time قد شيخنا قد استدار يعني بالمعنى
نعم إن الزمان قد استدار.
So time is circular, like the day that Allah created the heavens and the earth. Indeed, the year is 12 months. From these 12 are 4 that are sacred. 3 of these are consecutive. And these 3 consecutive months are Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, and Muharram. And Rajab is the one that is between Jumadi and Sha'ban.
Can you spell those first 2 months for me, please?
Yeah, sure, Justin. Apologies because I can't see you. So the first 2 months, you could spell them. So it's Dhul Qa'dah. So you could spell it as THUL QADAIH. And the second one, Dhul Hijjah, which is THUL HIJJAH.
And Muharram is the third one.
And yeah, Muharram is the third one. And the last one is Rajab, which is RAJAB.
Thank you.
Yeah, Justin, just jump in if because the way I've got it, I can see you now. But just do jump in if I'm going too fast or if there's anything that you need, like you did. Thanks. نعم شيخنا.
نعم. فهذا الشهر هو كما سماه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم شهر الله المحرم، سماه شهر الله. وهذه النسبة نسبة تعظيم، كما قال الله عز وجل بيت الله وكتاب الله وناقة الله ورسول الله وكلمة الله عن عيسى عليه السلام كلمة الله. فهذا شهر معظم بكل هذه الدلالات التي ذكرنا.
So this month, as has been explained by the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, has been named as the month of Allah. And this is a type of naming that indicates the importance or the virtue of the thing that is named. Just as we see the naming of the house of Allah, meaning the Kaaba. Just as we see the naming of the book of Allah, meaning the Quran. Just as we see in the Quran the naming or the indication, the camel of Allah. Just as we see the naming of Jesus, son of Mary, as the word of Allah, as the prophet of Allah. So all of these ascriptions to Allah, they indicate the gravity and the status of the thing that it describes. So in brief, these are the indicators that show the greatness of this month, the month that we've entered, the month of Muharram.
ومن فضائل هذا الشهر ما ذكره النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في حديث عائشة رضي الله عنها المخرج عند مسلم أنها قالت ما رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم استكمل شهرا قط إلا رمضان وما رأيته أكثر منه في صياما في شعبان. وهذا يدل على فضل شعبان إلى جانب فضل رمضان كما سنبينه.
And also we see in the hadith reported by Imam Muslim on the authority of Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, who said, indeed, I never saw the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, fast an entire month except for during Ramadan. And I never saw him fast more than he did within a single month, more than he did in the month of Sha'ban. And Sha'ban, Justin, you can spell S-H-A-B-A-N. So she never saw him fast as much in a month as he did in Sha'ban. And this is a comparator between Ramadan and this month, the month of Sha'ban.
وهذا الشهر كما نرى أنه جاء عقب فريضة عظيمة وهي فريضة الحج، وجاء كأحد الأشهر الحرم المتتالية، وشعبان يأتي قبل فريضة عظيمة وهي فريضة الصيام في رمضان، ويأتي بعد شهر من الأشهر الحرم وهو رجب. فهذه القدسية لهذه الأزمنة تدل على أهميتها، ولذلك ينبغي للمسلم أن يعتني بها.
Thabakum Allah, Shaykhana. And also, so when we look at this month of Sha'ban, our Shaykh, may Allah preserve him, he is showing us parallels. He said, may Allah preserve him, that the month of Sha'ban, it's a month, it's one of the sacred months, and it comes before the month of Ramadan, the month that where there is a great I beg your pardon, I've switched the order. So so going back, the month of Muharram is a great month in the sight of Allah, and we see that the month of Muharram, it follows a great month, a month in which there is a great obligatory action that the Muslims partake in, the month that contains within it Hajj, and it follows after it a number of the sacred months, and we can see the parallel between it and Sha'ban, because in Sha'ban it comes before a month in which there is a great obligatory action upon the Muslims, and that's the month of Ramadan, and Sha'ban comes after one of the sacred months, the month of Rajab. So these are indicators that show the significance and the importance of these two respective months, the month of Sha'ban and the month of Muharram.
وفي حديث أم المؤمنين عائشة دلالة على تعظيم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لشعبان، فكان يكثر من الصيام فيه استعدادا لرمضان. وفي حديث أبي هريرة عند مسلم أيضا أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: أفضل الصيام بعد شهر رمضان شهر الله الذي تدعونه المحرم، وأفضل الصلاة بعد الفريضة قيام الليل. فنلاحظ هنا أنه صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يفضل صيام شهر الله المحرم، كما أنه كان يكثر من صيام شهر شعبان.
So within the hadith, the narration of Aisha, we see an indication of the great virtue of the month of Sha'ban, whereby the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he would fast much within this month in order to prepare himself for Ramadan. And then we see in the narration of Abu Hurairah, which has been reported by Imam Muslim, where the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, indeed, the best fast or the best fasting is in the month of Allah, the month which you call Muharram. And the best of the prayers is the prayer that is done in the dead of the night, i.e. the night prayer. So we see from this that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he used to prefer and he used to give precedence to the fasting that takes place in Muharram on the one hand, and he used to fast often, and he used to fast most in Sha'ban.
وقبل أن نختم الكلام عن فضائل شهر الله المحرم، ننبه إلى ما نبه الله عز وجل عليه بخصوص هذا الشهر والأشهر الحرم، حيث قال الله عز وجل: إن عدة الشهور عند الله 12 شهرا في كتاب الله يوم خلق السماوات والأرض منها 4 حرم ذلك الدين القيم فلا تظلموا فيهن أنفسكم. الله عز وجل أمر أمرا مؤكدا لهذا العمل فوق ما هو مأمور به في سائر العام، أمر به تأكيدا في هذه الأشهر الأربعة الحرم، وهو ماذا؟ لا تظلموا فيهن أنفسكم. والمسلم مأمور أن لا يظلم نفسه طيلة العام، وظلم النفس يكون بماذا؟ بارتكاب المعاصي صغيرها وكبيرها، وبارتكاب الشرك والبدع. كل ما يغضب الله إذا ارتكبه المسلم فقد ظلم نفسه، لأنه بذلك يستنزل غضب الرب عليه. ولهذا قال الشاعر: خلي الذنوب كبيرها وصغيرها ذاك التقى، واصنع كماش فوق أرض الشوك يحذر ما يرى، لا تحقرن صغيرة إن الجبال من الحصى.
So we see that Allah the Most High, He orders with emphasis, and we close this tonight's gathering by giving mention to this and highlighting that which Allah the Most High has said about this month, where He said, the Most High, indeed the number of months with Allah is 12 lunar months in the register of Allah, the day that He created the heavens and the earth. Of these, 4 are sacred. That is the correct religion. And then he orders the Muslims with an action. So do not wrong yourselves during them. So here, Allah the Most High, He orders the Muslims to refrain from wronging themselves during them. And what we find is that this is an emphatic order, i.e., the Muslim is ordered not to wrong themselves or not to wrong themselves during the entire year. However, there is greater emphasis on them not doing so during the sacred months, from them being Muharram. And the question arises, how do the Muslims or how do the people wrong themselves? This is that they wrong themselves by taking part in disobedience, or committing disobedience to Allah by doing the small actions and the big actions and even the actions of polytheism, associating partners with Allah, and committing the innovated actions that earn the anger and the wrath of Allah the Most High. So the Muslim is ordered with greater emphasis to leave off all of these sins. And this is, as the poet says, leave off sins, the greater and the lesser. Indeed, that is having God consciousness. شيخنا ممكن تعيد سائر البيت حفظكم الله؟
خلي الذنوب كبيرها وصغيرها ذاك التقى، واصنع كماش فوق أرض الشوك يحذر ما يرى.
And do or conduct yourself as the person who is traversing a path where there are thorns on each side, i.e., gathering themselves and being close.
لا تحقرن صغيرة إن الجبال من الحصى.
Subhanallah. And do not demean and do not look down upon even a small sin. Do not consider a small sin to be insignificant, because a mountain can be made from hay.
فإذا علمنا ذلك فعلينا أن نجتهد بالابتعاد عن المعاصي والذنوب، سواء بترك الواجب أو بارتكاب المحظور. في الشهر في الأشهر الحرم عامة، والتي هذا واحد منها، وفي سائر العام. ومما ينبغي علينا أن نجاهد أنفسنا فيه في هذا الشهر هو الإكثار من الصوم ما استطعنا، فإن ثقل وعسر علينا فلا أقل من أن نصوم اليوم العاشر منه نضيف إليه يوما قبله أو يوما بعده، والأفضل أن يضاف اليوم الذي قبله لقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم: فإذا كان العام المقبل إن شاء الله صمنا التاسع، أي مضافا إلى العاشر، فهذا أفضل الدرجات. وإن لم يكن، إن لم يستطع، فإنه يصوم العاشر ويضيف إليه اليوم الذي بعده وهو 11. لماذا؟ لأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يحب موافقة أهل الكتاب إلا فيما أمر فيه بمخالفتهم، وكان أول سنة وجدهم في المدينة يصومونه وافقهم فصام يوم العاشر فقط، ثم لما كان في آخر سنة له في حياته أخبر أن يعني أو جاءه الأمر من الله بمخالفتهم، فقال: لئن بقيت لقابل أو لئن عشت إلى قابل لأصومن التاسع، يعني مضافا إلى العاشر. نعم، سامحنا أطلنا عليك.
أبدا شيخنا. So if we know this and we come to realize and appreciate this fact that we have looked at, then we should strive hard to refrain from disobedience to Allah, whether that disobedience takes the form of leaving off the obligatory actions or actually committing sins or acts of disobedience to Allah the Most High. And this is something that we should do in a general sense, but again is more emphasized during months, the sacred months, Muharram being one of them. In addition to this, we should strive to take part and we should strive to be active in fasting during this month. And if this is something that's difficult for us, then we should at least try to fast on the 10th of this month. On the 10th of this month, and then in addition to this, add either the day before it or the day after it. And that which is best is to fast on the day before it, i.e. the 9th, and then the 10th, because the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he said, indeed, if I am alive next year, I will fast on the 9th in addition to the 10th. So this shows that it is best and it is better. However, an individual may fast on the 10th and the 11th. Why is this the case? This is the case because the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he used to love when the acts of worship that he would do were in conformity to the people of the book. However, if he was ordered in a specific sense to differ from them, then he would do so. So we find in the biography of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, that in the first year he found the Jews fasting on the 10th, so his actions were in conformity to this. So he only fasted on the 10th, peace and blessings be upon him. Then after this, he was ordered to differ from them and to distinguish himself from them. So he verbalized and he made clear his intention that the following year I will fast on the 9th as well as the 10th to differentiate himself and his worship from their worship.
أخيرا ننبه أو نسلط الضوء على هذا القدر من الذي ذكرنا، وهو أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أمر بمخالفة اليهود فخالف بإضافة يوم، وهكذا المسلم يضيف يوما لمخالفة اليهود. فكيف بالذين يأتون بأمور في هذا اليوم وفي هذا الشهر لم ترد عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، كأولئك الذين يقيمون المآتم يوم العاشر ويلبسون ألوانا مخصصة ويضربون خدودهم وصدورهم ويشقون ثيابهم ويجلدون ظهورهم بالسلاسل والسيوف وغيرها حتى تدمى، يقولون حزنا على مقتل الحسين. وهذا كله مما حدث بعد زمن الصحابة كله من البدع، وكذلك ما فعله غيرهم كالصوفية الذين شابهوا اليهود في اتخاذ يوم عاشوراء عيدا، فتجدهم يختضبون ويكتحلون ويلبسون أحسن الثياب ويوسعون في النفقة على العيال ويوزعون الطعام في الطرقات، وهذا كله من البدع التي لم يعملها النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ولم يعملها خلفاؤه الأربعة من بعده، ولا عملها أحد من الصحابة ولا من العلماء الربانيين من التابعين وأتباع التابعين إلى يومنا هذا، ولن يعملها أي من أهل العلم المخلصين إلى قيام الساعة، لأنهم سائرون على طريق محمد. ومن فعل مثل هذه الجهالات فقد خالف هدي الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم الذي قال: من أطاعني دخل الجنة ومن عصاني فقد أبى، وقال: من عمل عملا ليس عليه أمرنا فهو رد. نسأل الله أن يجعلنا من المحسنين في شهر الله المحرم، وأن يجعلنا من المحسنين في دهرنا كله، وأن يجعلنا من المحسنين حتى نلقاه وهو راض عنا، وأن يوفقنا لشكره وذكره وحسن عبادته. والله تعالى أعلم، وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه.
Amen. And finally, there is a matter that I should shed some light upon, and that is that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he was ordered to differ from the Jews and add a day of fasting to differentiate himself and his ummah from them and their worship. So with this being the case, how is the status, or what is the status of those who come on the day of the 10th of Muharram with actions that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, himself did not come with, such that they have rituals and they use it as a day of mourning. They beat themselves with chains and safes and swords until they bleed, and to a grotesque extent, and they do so claiming to be commemorating the loss and the sadness of the killing of Hussein. And all of this, or I should say none of this, happened at the time of the companions of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. So none of this was done by any of his companions. And then on the other side, you have the Sufis, the so-called, I suppose that's the title, the Sufis, S-U-F-I-S, Justin, the Sufis, the kind of spiritualists, so-called, who take this day as a day of, as a festive day, where they adorn themselves with lovely clothes and they make special food and they go out celebrating. All of this, or none of this, is from the actions of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, nor was it from the actions of his rightly guided caliphs, nor was any of it done by the companions of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, nor was any of this the actions of the rightly guided scholars of Al-Islam, from the Tabi'een, from those who came after the companions of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. And these practices weren't practices that were done or carried on by the people of knowledge, and those who traverse the path of Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Those who, when they perform their acts of worship, they put at the fore the statement of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him: whosoever follows me and obeys me has followed Allah, and whosoever disobeys me has disobeyed Allah. And those who take heed of the statement of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him: whosoever does an action that is not in conformity with our actions and our affair, then it will be rejected. So these are the innovations that take place on this day that we must be aware of. So I ask Allah the Most High to make us good from those who do good and do abundant acts of obedience during the month of Muharram. I also ask him to make us from those who do abundant acts of good outside Muharram. I ask him to make us of those who worship Allah well, and give thanks to him abundantly and worship him to the best of our ability until he takes us and until we part from this world. And may Allah send and shower peace, salutations and blessings upon the Prophet Muhammad and upon his family and companions to the day of resurrection. Jazakumullahu khaira wa baraka fikum. May Allah reward immensely our Shaykh Muhammad Al-Malki.
وإياكم وإياكم الله.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Jazakallah khair. We were supposed to go live on YouTube today, but because of certain unforeseen situations, I just went live on Facebook, inshallah. But so you can catch the talk on Facebook on the Islam for Deaf page on Facebook, inshallah, and we'll continue next week, inshallah, on our usual page, YouTube. And what I will do is try and live stream on both YouTube and Facebook at the same time. Now that I've got a new platform, it's just we're getting around to doing it. So inshallah, next week it should be advertised and broadcasted on both YouTube and Facebook at the same time, inshallah. So again, my apologies for today, but you can catch the talk here on Facebook, inshallah.
You can upload it, can't you?
Yes, I'm gonna upload it. I've saved it onto the Facebook video, and I'm gonna download it from there.
Inshallah. حفظكم الله وبارك فيكم. May Allah Ta'ala bless you all. Thank you, Justin, for your help on this interpretation. جزاك الله خير عقيل على هذه الترجمة المتقنة المتينة التي سددت بها كثير من ثغرات كلامي. جزاك الله خيرا. Thank you, Abdul Hakim, for presenting this kind of work to our beloved brothers and sisters. جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام.
حياكم الله شيخنا. أثابكم الله. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.